I halved my squat strength, which is it's just horrible. Like I went from doing like a 200 kilo squat down to like an 80 to 100 kilo squat and struggling just as much.
Yes.
Because I was hyper focused on two things: my foot pressure, the weight on my heel, the weight on my the tripod stance, the heel, pinky ball of foot, and the ball of foot. I said you got to keep those things planted.
I see those videos. Yeah.
I've got flat feet as well, like horrifically flat. So I learned, oh my God, I've got to create an artificial arch, do that short foot exercise to create an arch in my foot. I've got to maintain that. I've got to have that external torque into the ground. And I've got to maintain a perfectly straight bar path. I've got hundreds of videos spanning about a surprisingly short amount of time.
Right.
Hundreds within the space of maybe like a day.
I was not prepared for that answer.
Of me squatting from the side, being like, oh my God, I can see that little millimeter shift forwards. My bar path wasn't perfectly vertical. I was dumping onto my knees, creating injury risk, creating wear and tear, losing power output, and I can't go heavier.
Yeah.
I've got to regress again.
Yeah.
And it got me into literally, it was
the infinite regress.
It was literally, what's that then? Regressive underload.
Yes.
For a good year or 2 year period where I was pursuing this optimal, perfect biomechanical ideal that was just a made up standard of arching your foot, create that torque, tripod stance, knees go out, bar path is perfectly vertical.
Why perfectly vertical? I never understood that.
Honestly, like I don't have a good answer. Like if you asked me back then, I'd be like, oh, it's just that the way that it is. It's the way it looks good. But then if you look at any elite level powerlifter, Olympic lifter, any person squatting with proficiency, it's not going to be vertical, perfectly vertical. There'll be a deviation.
It's not supposed to be vertical.
And I was like, oh, it's because energy leak. They've lost their positioning. They would be stronger. They'd be 10 times stronger. And then
you ask yourself, am I 10 times stronger with all these tips? No, wait a minute, I'm 10 times weaker.
Exactly. And that's the funny, that's the irony of it. And that's why like I swing back and forth between the two extremes of saying, don't worry about it or worry a lot about it. And then what's brought me back to realizing, hang on, how much of this is really helpful for myself, but also for other people to be thinking about a lot of these technical things. Is it really dangerous if your knees cave in a little bit on a squat?
Yes.
Maybe for some people, probably not for most people.
Yeah.
It's probably something that has to happen and is unavoidable.
Sure.
But I was back then, a little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing.
Sure.
And you get that, oh my God, over analytical. And, I was lucky that I got frustrated enough to talk myself out of continuing.
Yeah.
But that was literally, I would say, close to 2 years. It was at least a year, between 1 to 2 years of me regressing myself, losing a ton of muscle and going very far backwards in my training, but deluding myself that it was a good thing. I was like, no, there's no point in me squatting, 5 plates when I can't squat 1 plate with perfect technique and it looks beautiful. And I can't think of any population where that's probably a good thing to regress that much in pursuit of something that is a random made up standard that doesn't exist. If it was an actual this is going to give you knee cancer, then I'm going to obviously try to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a danger of a lot of the influencer world and a lot of the trainers and spokespeople out there is, we take them on face value. Like people take me on face value. They're like, Eugene, you got 500,000 subscribers. You definitely know what you're talking about. I got no idea what I'm talking about. I just told you, I took my squat backwards.
I can get you weaker if you want.
I'll teach you how to lose all your muscle mass if you want.
Yeah.
I'm great at that. I'm the expert.
I think it's good that you went on that journey though, because you're counter to should I continue to worry about the minutia? When you say no, you're not just some drugged up giant dude who never did the minutia because he's fucking too stupid and too impatient and is like, fuck that dude, just take more Anadrol.
Yeah.
Because there is that guy. There are those guys. Their understanding of why minutia can be something you pursue to a negative extent is purely hypothetical. Mm-hmm. Yours is lived experience.
Absolutely.
And so when someone's like, are you sure I'm not missing out? You're like, bro, let me tell you a story. Yes, I'm very, very certain that this is a giant waste of time. And then again, it comes back to that. If you have compelling reasons to enhance the technical specificity of a lift, try it.
For sure.
But if the reasons are absolutely not compelling, and if the reasons are at best nebulous, I mean, I don't know if I would do that. Here's another, this is a stupid analogy.